Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Empowered CPA podcast. I am your host, Dawn Scott. Today, I have a very passionate, multi-talented entrepreneur on today with us. I am so excited to share his goodness. He is just involved in so many things that are unbelievable and just so forward and so innovative. And I just feel lucky that he's taking the time to share his experience with us. So everybody, welcome Andrew Martineau.
Hi, hey Tom. Thanks for having me on here. This is incredible. Thank you for the incredible introduction. I think I'm going to have you introduce me all the time now.
Yes, I'm here for it. I'll
Can we just record the introduction? I can use it for all of my conversations.
yeah, I'll show up in person and I'll do it. I'll do it
There you go.
as big as I can.
Okay.
So we were joined together by a mutual acquaintance of ours, and when I was told about you, I heard things like you are in so many different things, and you are just passionate about the community you serve and the people that you have in your life. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and kind of all of the different wonderful things that you're involved in?
Sure. My background's in advertising and marketing. I said I'm an artist, but I like nice things, so I couldn't be a full-time artist. So I got into the advertising marketing world, and through all that, I've always kind of had a passion for the arts, and try to figure out ways that I can potentially be a full-time artist, and what steps I think I'd have to take to be able to get there. And so, over a period of 20 plus years in advertising and marketing, working for a range of local and multinational ad agencies in a number of different verticals, from upscale real estate and resorts to entertainment venues. My most recent, or my last corporate job, was in shopping center development, which was a really, really interesting sort of industry, because it kind of really kind of brought all of my experiences together and all my interests together kind of in one place. A mall is a really incredible kind of like location to be able to execute marketing strategies and see actually the returns on it in real time. Also have a venue to host events. So really kind of like every possible thing you could think of within the advertising marketing space can all be kind of realized within a shopping center environment. So it was a really interesting and exciting time for me. And I kind of worked on a lot of kind of vacancy management strategies there, and also a lot of arts initiatives, kind of really pioneering, kind of bringing that art and artists into a shopping center environment to really engage with the community, and also to be able to provide a platform for artists to be able to be seen and discovered. And at the end of 2016, I decided that I was going to kind of leave a full-time position in shopping center development and kind of go into more consulting with a range of shopping centers, in addition to starting an art fair, which Broward County didn't have one. So when you think about Miami and Palm Beach, Miami's had Art Basel and Art Miami, which many people know about for many years. Um, uh, Broward really hadn't had one. So we thought, well, maybe we should look at creating an art fair. And I'm saying we because my partner Evan Snow, who I met just towards the tail end of me leaving the shopping center development industry, um, he had a concept of wanting to bring an idea called Choose 954 to Broward County. It was off of something he had seen in Memphis, which was Choose 901. And he really wanted to kind of create a similar sort of movement and kind of entity here in Broward County, really kind of showcasing all the amazing things that we have here in the county to see and discover. And so we decided to kind of go on that venture together, and that evolved into Art Fort Lauderdale and the art fair that I was referring to earlier. So we created this art fair. It's called Art Fort Lauderdale, the art fair on the water, and is essentially is executed in luxury waterfront homes on the Intercoastal. People get there by water
It
taxi.
is
Uh,
fancy.
yeah, it's a really cool kind of event that's unique to Fort Lauderdale. When you think about, like, us getting into the art fair space, which there are many fairs around the world, really. how do you get into the space with that's something that's unique, something that's original, and something that you won't always get compared to other fairs. And so this was really something that kind of utilized the uniqueness of Fort Lauderdale, the intercoastal waterways, the plethora of luxury waterfront homes on the water,
There's a couple.
um, right? Many of them were for sale, and many of them have been for sale. So we'd work with kind of like high-end brokers on these homes. So the homes were for sale and the art was for sale. So we just essentially kind of fill all the homes with artwork from artists from all over the world. And we've been doing that for the last 4 years. Obviously, COVID kind of put a little hold on kind of executing that. But we started Full Art Design Week, which was a week that the art fair was within or sat at the tail end of. And that we continued through the pandemic. Obviously, a lot of that was virtually, and the art week was really focusing on promoting all of the arts throughout Broward County, whether it's things over at NSU Art Museum or the Art and Culture Center or the Frank in Pembroke Pines. So that was something that continued through the pandemic. We're hoping to bring Art Fort Lauderdale back in 2023, potentially over at the convention center with a couple ancillary events that would happen in some of these homes. And over those 4 years or 5 years, I should say, we started meeting a lot of artists looking for affordable artist studio space. And we really couldn't find many, but we still saw a lot of vacancies around town in commercial real estate and otherwise. So we approached our local mayor here in Fort Lauderdale, kind of told him about the idea of trying to um, take vacant commercial real estate and turn them into affordable artist studios. He thought it was a really great idea. He pitched it to the owner of the Las Olas company, who was a client of mine serendipitously many, many years ago when I created the branding for Las Olas. And we got our first space. And it was a space that was been vacant for about 3 years. We took over the space, divided it up into smaller spaces, filled it with local artists that were able to work and exhibit out of the space. We charged them at the time was $2 a square foot. We paid all the utilities. So we kind of operate somewhat of like I would say a for-profit nonprofit because
I know that
you
feeling.
know yeah, the goal wasn't revenue based. The goal was really trying to solve the issue of artists not having working artist studios, and obviously looking for ways to kind of beautify our various areas and minimize vacancies. And so it was initially a passion project, I should say. Something that we were very interested and passionate about, and then it turned into a business, as I mentioned, still for profit, nonprofit kind of deal.
It's for
But
profit. You guys are doing
right,
you're doing great.
yeah. Well, we have a great accountant that we've been working with
I've
that's
heard
been
about
kind of
her.
keeping us on track. So yeah, so that's kind of where we've kind of come and kind of my evolution in a small sense. We started in August of 2019. We're now have opened up about 26 locations across Florida and most recently in Massachusetts, which was a very interesting undertaking.
It's a different
Um,
different venue.
yeah, different venue, different market. We built the space out in the middle of the snow. Well, I mean, it wasn't in the
Oh,
snow, but it was snowing.
yikes.
And being from the Caribbean originally and living in South Florida all my life, it wasn't the most exciting thing.
What is this
But
stuff?
right, but it was exciting to kind of go into the mall. It was Natick Mall in Massachusetts, which is the largest mall in New England, and we actually took a Burberry store, which was kind
Oh,
of one of those opportunities that we couldn't refuse. We took over a
yeah.
Burberry store, and so we can certainly say we have the first working artist studio in the world that's actually in a former Burberry store next to Louis Vuitton and the Tiffany's.
That's fancy real estate.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's kind of a really good example of particularly for artists, artists that aren't represented by galleries, don't really have much opportunity to exhibit outside of like maybe Instagram or any of these digital medias, but to be able to have a brick and mortar presence and not necessarily be represented by galleries yet. Really gives them this great opportunity. We don't take any commissions off of any work that they sell, but working in the space on a regular basis. So they are working artists and not galleries. But if they do get inquiries about sales, they're free to sell. So it's kind of an intermediary between having a working artist studio and having a gallery, but not really having the cost of owning a regular, which is incredibly high, or being represented by a gallery that usually takes about 40% of any sale.
And, I think one thing that you haven't mentioned in this space is not only do you provide them a physical location, but the community aspect that they also get access to being around other people in the creative space, living similar, lives to them, as well as your expertise in advertising and marketing. You guys really help elevate them and get them a lot of exposure that they may or may not be able to get otherwise.
Yeah, no, 100%. I would certainly say, I think with the evolution of the arts and more contemporary artists have started getting into or have gotten into just kind of creating in their own space. So whether that's at their house or they have their own studio, it's usually just them.
Exactly.
And um, it used to be that artists kind of painted or created in more of a collective environment. For many of the art movements throughout history, there was a lot of collaboration between some of the most famous artists in the world. As I mentioned, contemporary art kind of like changed a lot of that. People were kind of to themselves in a big part. So collective environment, soon opportunity for us to be bounce ideas off of each other. A lot of them have said, it reminds them of being back in college,
Right.
which is a really interesting sort of observation. And then we have some artists that have never had a studio before. Some of them are in their 70s, some of them are in their 80s. And this is actually the first studio that they've had all their life. And they've been prolific artists, but never really looked at it as something that they would require a studio for. And it was more of a hobby sort of thing for them. So we have, grandmothers coming in every day, like they go to work and coming into the space, meeting and hanging out and collaborating with people in their 20s, a various amount of cultures and backgrounds and ages, genders. So the spaces are really, really incredible, dynamic, collective spaces made up of people from completely different backgrounds, all kind of sharing that passion for creating art. And we've seen a lot of successes from that. And we've had some artists now have been collected by the Norton. We have some artists, and many of our artists are full time now, because the spaces kind of allowed them to do that with the very low rent that we charge, and also the fact that um, we don't charge a commission on anything that they sell. And as you mentioned, we do a fair amount of marketing and promotion for the artist. We just opened up in Tyrone Square in St. Pete about a month ago. And since opening, we've had three newspapers write editorial stories. We've had one TV station do an interview. We have another TV station coming next week. And we have some of our artists that have literally nobody's ever heard of before, never been on TV, never been in a newspaper, that are now within a month all
Famous.
on TV and in a newspaper. So it's really exciting, especially when you see people that have this opportunity and are really excited about kind of the exposure that they're getting. Obviously, great for the properties that we have the spaces in, because they have some really, really positive feel good press happening with them and with the space and with the opportunity that they provide to us by allowing us to be in that space on that temporary basis until they find that long-term permanent tenant. But it really allows the local community and the local artists that are local to their community to be able to have this incredible space to work and create.
Well, and I know we've talked about before that it's actually very beneficial for the building owner as well to have, it's better for them to have people in the space, even if it is temporary, than it is to have a vacant space and no movement and no life in there. And is that feedback? Are you finding that the building owners are allowing you to move to other buildings they may or may not own because they're seeing so much success with being able to lease the spaces?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I would say, I'd say probably our best success story is we had a space on Las Olas that was vacant for about 5 years. And we came into that space, and over a period of 3 months, somebody came into the space, really loved the energy, and had the opportunity obviously to see these spaces because they are open and active 7 days a week. So the property owner doesn't need to call their broker if somebody wants to walk into the space. Most of the time you'd see, if you do see a space that you're interested in, you have to call the number,
Mhm.
then wait for the broker, and then the broker comes into the space. So because the space is open 7 days a week, it really allows, someone to go and see the space whenever they'd like. And that's it was for 3 months. And now there's really no space available on Las Olas. And it's 3 days, or 2 years later. But it was us that were the major catalyst. But I do feel that, like, it brought some really interesting energy and amazing energy to the area, a lot of great attention. Most of our spaces are either kind of uh, given to us based on a local city commissioner or mayor or even the PR agency that represents the property reaching out for really great content or a way to activate otherwise vacant space. And as you mentioned too, like, nobody really wants to have a vacant space or a vacancy, whether it's in a shopping center or in street level retail. And because it certainly affects neighboring tenants. If you're walking down the
Of
street
course.
and you walk past two empty spaces, most of the time you just kind of turn around, not think there's anything else there. And a lot of times the very next person is actually the tenant. And so having those spaces active and open allows that walkability for that area, whether it's in a shopping center or on street level retail. And so for property owners that don't pay extra for any of the PR that we generate or any of the marketing that we generate, keeping in mind too that the artists that are in the space are on social media promoting their location, promoting their work on a daily basis, multiple times a day. So when you think about that sort of arrangement in any sort of property, most of the time, whether it's a national brand that's there in that area, they aren't really localizing a lot of their promotion. A lot of their promotion is kind of coming from a corporate office and coming out, and it's not really coming on a daily basis either. So you now have properties that actually have constant eyes on their locations because now you have maybe 5, 10, 20 artists in their space promoting that they're there, promoting about the opportunity that they have, promoting to their friends and their contacts and their followers. So there's this ongoing content being created and generated out of a property that otherwise may have been vacant and dark.
Exactly. And even in some of the, the commercial leases, at the blow dry bar, we recently lost one of our anchor stores, and I know that there's a lot of clauses in some of these leases that say if you lose one of these anchors, that there's buyout options. And so as a property owner, you probably don't want to see that happen either.
100%. And that's I mean, that's really most commercial properties. And it also affects, as I said, rents as well too, because sometimes you pay reduced rent if you have a major anchor.
Mm-hmm.
The stores will pay reduced rent based on occupancy levels. So,
Exactly.
it behooves a property owner to certainly have his property, or their property, um, uh, you know, pretty much full.
Of
And minimizing vacancies is a huge thing for most property management companies and
right.
developers.
Well, and so given the temporary nature of some of these spaces and how you can't tell specific dates, we'll be here from January through June. That's not part of the structure of this business. You do see a lot of artists move from one location to another when one goes down and then another one is, pops up, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So, if and when we do lose our spaces, and we do from time to time, and we have, we usually try to have another space somewhere in the area for artists to move into. We also give the flexibility of artists, if we do open up another space and they're currently in one space and that other space may be closer or more convenient for them, they have the option to also transfer to that space kind of in between their lease if they'd like as well. There's certainly a lot of flexibility because it's month to month for the artist. There's not really a major commitment, so you're not committing to a year lease or 2 year lease or 5 year lease.
Right.
And also keep in mind that the spaces that they're renting range from, I would say, anywhere from 100 square feet to 300 square feet. So they're not renting a 2,000 square foot space.
Right.
So there are all of these, I guess, savings and low barrier for entries that we create for artists to be able to, obviously work affordably.
Right. And I think it's wonderful that you're providing such flexibility. If somebody's a new artist or, someone who's, maybe taking up more time in their life and they say, I'd like to try this out, you're really removing a lot of the risks that go with a lease or a large space, or even just the community aspect of it, I think is so life changing for a lot of the artists that are able to come into one of your studios.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, flexibility is key. I mean, I'm a big believer in if you're able to uh, take away some of the costs associated with many things in life, you're really able to be more creative.
Absolutely.
And I think when one is constantly thinking about like, hey, how am I going to afford the rent, or how am I going to afford to stay here? It really kind of stifles a lot of creativity that they have. So we've really been able to see artists that we've known for years, that have been incredible, really be able to kind of uh, increase the amount of work that they're creating. The work quality's increased, the amount of work they're creating has increased. So, I think really taking out those somewhat barriers to some extent for artists just in their creativity really helps with them kind of like grow and grow on a much quicker pace.
Absolutely. So then I know that you are the founder of Unitas Group, which is an agency. How is tell me about that part of your passion.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, obviously wanted to be an artist in my early days, and
But not a
realized that
starving
like,
artist.
yeah, like the nice things that I like couldn't really happen.
I
So
feel you.
I got very heavily involved in advertising and marketing. I'd say that the vast majority of my career has been in that space, and really had the opportunity and pleasure to work with a range of businesses and industries. And uh, so I still have the Unitas Group as a consultancy. I think what that's done just in these passions with Zero Empty Spaces and all the other things that we do marketing and branding and strategy, and we're kind of a full service consultancy for a range of different entities, whether it's hotels or cities or individual brands. And so that's actually allowed us to ideate ideas very, very quickly and actually execute
Mhm.
ideas very quickly. Because of the agency, we're able to come up with an idea, create a marketing strategy, create a logo, create a website, uh, generate PR, create an event. So most entities that have an idea, so say we wanted to create zero empty spaces, and I was like, man, I really want to do this thing, then we'd need to find someone to create the logo, find someone to create the website, or hire an agency or someone to do those things, someone to generate the PR. So we actually eliminate all of those costs from all the different things that we do. And so we're kind of in a constant, let's do this, let's create this. I mean, whether it's the art fair or the art week, we do a beer festival, we run a beer week, um, uh, we just are going to be having a mezcal festival
I know. I
because
want to
I
talk about that.
yeah. So we'll talk
Let's
about that
talk
too.
about that.
But yeah, no, I mean, so United Group's kind of been, as much as we represent a couple clients in a range of different industries, it's been a mechanism for us to be able to execute these ideas about things that we've gotten passionate and are passionate about.
Mhm.
And as I said, Mezcal was something that I really started getting very heavily into, I'd say, in the last
It's
year and a half,
research.
and heavily, yeah, and heavily meaning like, it's just a really, really interesting spirit. I developed my love for it over the venue that we're hosting at, which is Toro Latin Kitchen and Le Meridian Hotel in Dania Beach. And they have a mezcal and tequila bar over there with over 250 different tequilas and mezcals. And we started going to that venue through the pandemic because a lot of people didn't know about it. And it was super quiet and the food was incredible.
And you
And
ruined
we'd
the
essentially be,
quietness.
yeah, we were one of the few people that were there. So it was kind of our space, for lack of a word, for quite some time because they had just opened, not too far before the pandemic happened, and like a lot of people just didn't know what the space. So we were going there for dinner, maybe more than we needed to,
No, no, no.
and
Research.
and then and then we started getting tastings, which are great. So every time we'd go, we'd try a different mezcal. And as we started getting more and more into it, I started looking for other places to try mezcal and festivals, and really didn't find any in the U.S. So there's a huge mezcal festival in Oaxaca, Mexico, but when you look into the United States, not very many. Now, obviously, the category is burgeoning. It's pretty small, but I would say at least in the last year and a half, I've seen the aisles for mezcal really grow.
Hmm.
Certainly not as large as tequila, which is the most, uh, uh, I guess, the spirit that's
Popular.
consumed the most in the U.S. right
Is it
now.
really?
Um, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
probably have a huge part in that.
There you go. Yeah, no, tequila took over from vodka, which was huge for quite some time, and tequila is now the thing.
I love that.
Um, and mezcal is just really creeping up. What's really interesting about mezcal is that there's this lineage of families that are really kind of responsible for the juice is what they call it, and so you have these farms that farm the agave to make the mezcal that are all family owned. So it's a very, very artisanal sort of spirit
Hmm.
that has these generations of families really kind of cultivating and distilling it. And when you look at that as compared to most other liquors or spirits, they just don't really have that kind of lineage. I mean, other things are grown on a much more commercial scale,
Hmm.
whereas mezcal is still very, very artisanal in how it's manufactured and created and distilled and how the agaves are grown. And there's certainly a ton of different agaves, and I kind of explain mezcal and tequila. Mezcal, people kind of consider tequila's smoky cousin, but not all mezcals are smoky, which is a great discovery. Not all of them have the little worm in it either.
Oh god.
Um, uh,
Just the ones you find in college have the worm, right?
just exactly special ones,
Ew.
and it's also more of it's not the tequila shot experience. It's thing experience, so similar to bourbon and
Right.
whiskey, just in terms of its nuance. So it's just really been a discovery process because I'm finding new mezcals every day. The festival went from 5 mezcal brands now to 28 mezcal brands. We have people coming straight out of Mexico,
Wow.
and really now getting into this market is New York are further ahead in terms of getting into the spirit itself is really trying to get it to cocktail menus. When you start going out, you start seeing people are using this for a couple of things. Margarita is incredible. Um, and so it's just really been a very versatile spirit for a lot of bartenders, really something that's kind of coming into its own. And so we're hoping to essentially have the largest Mezcal Festival in the US right now. It's the largest in Florida,
Yes.
and really kind of have it be this kind of venue to try new mezcals on an annual basis. And one's coming up May 13th to the 15th.
I'm so excited.
Did I send you your ticket yet? I'm
Yes.
not
Yeah,
sure.
you sent me the
I
link
did.
to get it. Yes.
All right.
I'm trying to locate a babysitter and a hotel room because responsibility.
Okay. I hear ya. Well, the hotel, they have discounted rates for the weekend.
Perfect. Perfect.
and we have a brunch on the Sunday.
Oh gosh.
Start at noon, so you could sleep in and actually go
Oh my
straight to
gosh.
brunch.
That never happens once you become a parent, by the way. The sleeping in
Yeah,
part. Yeah.
that's that's what I've heard.
That might be like right up there with mezcal tasting, sleeping in, brunch, all my favorite
Right?
things. How can I say no to this? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
so you just need a babysitter for a couple days.
Yeah. My
Maybe
oldest is
Saturday,
pretty
Sunday.
responsible. She'll be fine.
Okay, okay,
Just
there you
kidding.
go.
She's 9. Just kidding. So I think we've been working together a long time, and I think the thing that I just love so much about you is just your passion for everything that you're involved in. And, you look at Mezcal and your love for this new spirit, and you're like, you know what? I want to share this with everybody, because if I love this, then everyone else should love this too. And really just offering a way for more people to have these experiences with, farming and these spirits that have such a culture and story and history. And I think that to me, as a bystander to watching these great things that you're building, that to me is just the common thread that you have through all of your different businesses, is that you really care deeply about the people, the product that they are creating or cultivating in some way, and you really use your background to spread the word to as many people as possible. And I just think that is such an incredible thing that you do for, the community and everybody around you.
So I'm definitely taking some snippets from this podcast, and I'm going to maybe I could go on my website. I'm really kind of starting to think about how this can work. I can take the first part and
Right? Like,
intro this part here as like an ending.
I'll
No, no,
just come to
I
all your
really
events.
appreciate that.
I'll
No,
just get on the payroll. I'll just come hang out.
I'm seriously considering this.
No, but I'm very
No,
serious.
but
I think it's just, it really shows your, when you say I wanted to be an artist and I like nice things, I think you found your way to have nice things and really serve the community that you love and are a part of. And I think that that's such an amazing thing that should be celebrated, because I mean, what a way to live.
no, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I mean, definitely. I mean, I think life is super short,
Hmm.
and I think in a larger sense, COVID's kind of one of those things where people kind of losing their lives unexpectedly.
Hmm.
And so when you start thinking about, just being able to be alive and not having, some of those things happen, um, you start going like, man, like I really need to kind of maximize my time here. And
Right.
if I were to die tomorrow, like what would
Am I
I
cool
have
with that?
accomplished?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Do I
Um,
know the last
and
mezcal I want to drink on that day? Like,
right,
do we know?
exactly. Right. Well, I haven't figured that out yet. I mean, I'm so excited. Like, there are a bunch of brands that I haven't tried yet that I'm going to try in a couple of weeks. So I haven't selected that brand yet.
Okay.
But
Well, let me know.
um,
We'll put that in your
yeah,
will.
no,
These are important
no, for
parts.
sure, man. But no, it's been great. I mean, Zero Empty Spaces has been one of those very rewarding sort
Hmm.
of projects that we have because you know we have artists in tears about the opportunity. We
Hmm.
have their parents, sometimes their partners, just really just in awe about what is done for them, their family,
Hmm.
livelihood. There's so many layers of things that we're able to do and hear, and there are not many things that you can do that you can make a little bit of money. I mean, we're
Hmm.
not becoming millionaires yet, but you
It's
know
early.
but yeah, but there are not many jobs that you can do where you get that sort of feel good
Hmm.
in it as well, right?
Absolutely.
um, and on an ongoing basis, and the feel good's really part of the whole business, right?
Hmm.
And so, applying that and obviously having the opportunity and the skill sets to be able to execute events and programs certainly make it a little bit easier for us. But um, it's been great to really be able to utilize my background and my experience, my skill sets to be able to affect change or help people and businesses and industries in a bunch of different ways. And so, I think we've certainly, I mean, certainly found quite a bit of purpose, and I've been fortunate enough to be working with Mr. Evan Snow, my partner,
He's great.
um, in many of my initiatives there, who also feels the same way. I mean, we kind of consider ourselves altruists in a major sense, and you know, early on when I kind of coined the creative altruist phrase many moons ago, I had reached out to business looking for business, and the owner had said like, why do you want to be an altruist? Like, you should be wanting to make money, and like, why would I want to do business with somebody like that? And it's kind of always
Oh.
stuck with me as something that someone said. Um, because I mean, I guess in one sense, I mean, altruism is not necessarily something that you would associate with business or successful business.
Mhm.
And because, there's this unselfish concern for others,
Right.
and it's not usually something that's worked into just being a successful business person. But I think I've kind of figured it out. I mean, it took a while. I've had the creative altruist kind of phrase for many, many years, but I think there's an opportunity for people to build business with the goal of solving a problem or
Mhm.
creating a solution as a primary goal, as opposed to revenue being that primary goal. And I
Absolutely.
think we've kind of, Zero Space is a good example in how that could work. And I think that could be applied to many, many industries and many, many issues. Is there could be businesses that could be created to solve the problem, not so much to generate millions and millions of dollars in profits.
Well, and I think that for the short term, perhaps a revenue goal would be enough. But I think if you're looking to build something sustaining and something long term and something that whenever that chapter is closing, if you want to feel pride in what you've accomplished and really feel fulfilled, I think just a revenue goal is not going to be enough in my experience. I think you have to have some greater purpose to what you're doing. Otherwise, why the heck are you why are we doing that?
No, absolutely. And I said, um, we've seen how communities change and how
Mhm.
communities can change with some of these projects. Even with Mezcal. I mean, I'm not a Spanish speaker, but I really enjoy the culture, and I really enjoy the spirit. And so we're integrating a lot of, we're going to have a mariachi band. We have a local Mexican group coming in and doing some traditional Mexican performances. And so it's been a learning experience for me, really learning more about the culture, and also creating this platform for the culture to be able to be experienced by many people here. So I just think that there's certainly a lot to create these platforms for people to kind of show the things that they do, and obviously another way to bring people together from different places so we can certainly kind of start understanding ourselves or each other
Yeah.
in a much larger sense.
Absolutely. So if there's an artist listening and they are just so excited about what they're hearing, how do they find Zero Empty Spaces? How do they buy tickets to the Mezcal Festival to hang out with us? How does
So
all that work?
super easy for the artist. It's zeroemptyspaces.com. There's an application tab there that will lead you to uh, the various locations that we have. And there's also a button there to click on if area or your city, for us to kind of look into it. So you can actually apply that route as well. And once you apply, we'll look through your application, and then we'll see what space we have available and then kind of pair you with a space. So that's super easy. For Mezcal Lauderdale, it's mezcallauderdale.com. And you could also go to that website, and tickets can be purchased there. We have tickets for the grand tasting. We have two tasting dinners, two five-course dinners with two mezcal brands. One is Dos Hombres and one is Mezcal Tuzba. Dos Hombres is actually owned by Aaron Paul and Bryan Cranston from Breaking Bad. They're kind of one of the few celebrity-backed mezcals, and kind of one of the pioneers in the celebrity-backed mezcal space. There's a lot of celebrity-backed tequilas,
Mm-hmm.
as you may or may not know. And so that's happening on the Saturday, and then on the Sunday we have Mezcal brunch at Mezcal Amaras. And so a lot of really exciting things. As I mentioned, the grand tasting is going to have over 28 different mezcals and their various expressions to try. So fortunately, they're sipping
I'm already hydrating.
mezcals.
I'm ready. I'll be
So
ready.
so it won't be 28 shots, I promise.
I'll
It'll be
need like
like
4 days.
very small tasting pours. But you know what's also great in mezcal? There's no sugar,
Right.
right? So, or very little sugar. So you don't really have
You
that
don't
kind of
die.
hangover issue. I've tried it. Trust me.
I've tried.
Uh,
I like your research. Your
it's
research is
true. I've tried
solid.
it out. Uh, but yeah, no. So both 0mc's.com and mezcallauderdale.com. Mezcal Lauderdale, as I mentioned, is coming up May 13th through the 15th, and hoping to see you obviously there
Oh,
and
yes.
many others.
I'm hoping you see like 3 of me when I see you.
I don't know. I'm gonna be in work mode, so I
Oh,
don't know
right, right,
how I'm
right.
gonna have to pace
I'm
myself. So we'll
hoping
see how that's
I
gonna
see
work out.
3 of you.
All right, there you go. There you go.
Oh, that's my best quality right there. Well, thank you so much. This has been so fun. It's always so fun. And I just appreciate your time very much. And
Thank you.
yes, and for everybody listening, thank you for joining us today. And you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else you enjoy your shows.